Shikolai. This is how the Oneida Indian Nation says hello in their language. My name is Beth Sundquist, and for this co-culture project, I will be sharing some information regarding the early New York life of the Oneida Nation Indians and why they eventually moved to Wisconsin. We'll talk about the different treaties that happened early on and their importance. We'll also look at their past way of life, including economy, housing and tools, and the clan system, and their responsibilities. At the end of the presentation, we'll take a look at some of their traditional clothing. Currently residing in northeastern Wisconsin near Green Bay are the Wisconsin Oneida Indians. They are an Iroquoian-speaking Indian tribe that originally came from upstate New York. The Oneidas refer to themselves as Wanyotika, people of the standing stone. According to Oneida traditions, there was always a large red boulder near the main Oneida village in New York. The Oneida Creek and the Oneida Lake are in north-central New York State, where the areas of the Oneida homeland are. Oneida was forced to sell their large portions of their land in the early 1800s by New York and white land speculators, wealthy individuals who bought large chunks of land in hopes of selling them in smaller pieces to farmers. From around 1765, the tribe's land in New York shrunk from about 6 million acres to 4,500 acres by 1839. Around this time also, the towns Stockbridge and Brothertown were established in this area of New York. In the early 1820s, a group led by Eleazar Williams, a white missionary that believed the Oneida people would continue to suffer in New York, arrived in Green Bay. She had created and implemented a plan to relocate all New York Indians to the Green Bay area. This was approved by the federal government, and the two towns that were established, Stockbridge and Brothertown, also supported this move. Williams negotiated with the Menominee and Ho-Chunk Indians for roughly 860,000 acres. The following year, another negotiation took place for an additional 6.72 million acres on Lake Michigan. Shortly after, the Menominee and Ho-Chunk Indians argued that none of their chiefs had been present at the negotiations and that the interpreter had misinformed them of the intent. They only wanted to let Oneida live on the land, not own it. After an 8-year debate, the federal government negotiated a series of 3 treaties in 1831 and 1832. The Menominee Indians agreed to give up 500,000 acres of land to the Oneida, but the federal government reduced this to only 65,400 acres in 1838. This is the current boundaries of the Wisconsin Oneida Reservation. The Oneida Indians did not give up any land until 1887, when Congress passed the Dawes Act. This act mandated that all Indian reservation lands be allotted to individual Indians, and after 25 years, they could sell or lease their land as they wanted. When the 25 years expired, much of the land was bought by non-Indians. By 1920, only a few hundred acres remained in the Oneida tribe. In 1934, the federal government reversed the policy under the Indian Reorganization Act. In 1936, the Oneida Indians wrote a new constitution and reorganized their tribal government. The following year, they bought back 1,270 acres of land. Life in Wisconsin currently still comes with issues. As land was given back to the Oneida Indians, it was put into a federal trust and became exempt from local taxes. The land is in between Brown and Outagamie County, both of which want to be able to tax the land. In 1985, the city of Green Bay, the town of Hobart, and the Fort Howard Paper Corporation filed a lawsuit against the Oneida Reservation. The case was eventually thrown out in 1990, and the reservation continues to exist today. The Oneida's way of life was very important in the past. The most important crops that they grew were referred to as the Three Sisters. They were corn, beans, and squash. They made all kinds of food, including cornmeal, corn cakes, and soups and puddings. They also grew kidney and lima beans and sunflower seeds. Berries, nuts, and wild plants were also important to the Oneida Indians. They grew wild cherries, strawberries, currants, and huckleberries. They also collected many nuts like chestnuts, beech nuts, hickory nuts, butternuts, acorns, and black walnuts. Maple sap was one of the few sweeteners that the Oneida Indians had. The sap was collected and used for making maple syrup to put into breads. They even boiled the sap and made a type of snow cone treat for the children. Hunting and fishing were also extremely important. They hunted deer, rabbit, and bear. Snowshoes made the winter hunting easier as they traveled up to 50 miles a day in deep snow. Arrow points and spear points were carved from flint stone and attached to the shaft for arrows, or spears as needed by the men using them. Other important tools used by the Oneidas included stone adze, hand axes for woodworking, flint knives for skinning animals, and wooden hoes for farming. The Oneida Indians lived in buildings called longhouses. The average longhouse was about 300 feet long by 50 to 60 feet wide by 30 feet tall. They were sometimes so tall that they could hang their canoes from them. Each longhouse housed several families, and you could tell by the number of smoke holes in the roof. Normally, there would be one family on each side of the smoke hole. As the longhouses were geared for multiple families, they were tended to be looked at as more of a community house. There would be one longhouse for ceremonies, and the exterior would be made from elm bark and mud moss. The longhouses would stay roughly 70 to 75 degrees year-round. Any visitor that would stop by were given a bowl of food and were sat down by the fire to warm up. Storage pits were also dug inside the longhouses and used to store food. When a pit was used for storing food, it is thought that it was lined with bark and grass and covered with bark mats for lids. Today, longhouses are used only for ceremonial purposes. With the Oneida Indians, there are certain clan groups that the people belong to. The Oneida clans were developed at a time when there were a lot less people living in the world. The Oneida elders were worried that the young people were getting together with their closely related family members. The elders began to meet about this predicament. At one of these meetings, a quiet young man stood up. He told the council about his idea to alleviate the problems that they were having. He suggested that each family have their eldest woman pay attention to what she sees in the morning. Each woman seen a different animal in the morning, and this animal is to represent the clan for each of the woman's families. The Turtle Clan is known as the Keepers of the Knowledge. As Oneida Indians tell the story, it was there that the earth was created, on the back of the turtle. The Turtle Clan represents the shifting of the earth and the cycles of the moon. The people of the Turtle Clan are considered the well of information and the keepers of the land. The responsibility of the Turtle Clan is everything that has to do with the environment. The Bear Clan is known as the keepers of the medicine or the healers. There are stories passed down about the Bear Clan. People were given the gift of medicine from an elder woman who had the knowledge of all the medicine plants here on earth. The Great Law speaks of how all members of each clan have a relationship to each other. Since you have a family relationship with everyone in your clan, it is forbidden to marry a person of the same clan. The Wolf Clan is considered a cousin to the Turtle Clan and an uncle to the Bear Clan. The Turtle Clan is the older brother to the Bear Clan. The last clan is the Wolf Clan, or the Pathfinders. The Wolf Clan's responsibility is to guide the people in living their lives in the way the Creator intended. There are also clan mothers. Clan mothers are responsible for appointing the chief on the people's behalf. The clan mothers watch young boys and see how they act and how they mature over time. They look at the progress of the child over time and determine if they could be a potential chief. The clan mothers are the leaders when it comes to voicing opinions. They have the first and the last say as to what the chiefs do to help people. They also act as counselors for the families. The clan mothers are the backbone of the Oneida people. Chiefs are responsible for making the right decision in the community's best interest. The chiefs listen to what the clan mothers say, and they then become the voice of the people. The chief also helps conduct the ceremonies alongside of the faith keepers. Most of the time, he will be the one to conduct the traditional ceremonies. They also bring back to the clan mothers what was discussed at the Grand Council and tell the clan mothers what went on. Faith keepers are responsible for the well-being of people. They act as spiritual advisors for the people. They are the ones that carry out what the chief and clan mothers say, and their primary responsibility is to ensure that the 4 sacred ceremonies are being conducted. The 4 sacred ceremonies are the Great Feather Dance, Men's Chant, Water Drum Dance, and the Peach Stone Game. Traditional clothing for the Oneida Indians consisted of natural materials such as deer and other hides. When the Europeans met the Oneidas, they traded items like cotton and broadcloth, which is wool or plain woven cotton. Headwear was also extremely important. The woman's headband is intricately beaded and is worn like a tiara. The design is beaded onto velvet or wool and then sewn onto a leather backing. The beadwork designs are typical designs of vines, leaves, flowers, and clan symbols. The men wear a quechua, or a feathered hat. The frame of a quechua is made from black ash splints, which is then covered with deer skin. Turkey and grouse feathers cover the dome, and eagle feathers are used to signify the tribe. Oneidas wear 2 feathers up and 1 down on their quechua. The headband is sometimes decorated with silver or copper bands etched with design work, porcupine quills, and beads. As we come to the end of the presentation, I hope you were able to learn a few things about the Oneida Nation Indians like I have. Today, the nation is focused on reinvesting its revenues in their current members in hopes to continue to have a sustainable future. The Oneida Nation's government makes sure its people can achieve their highest potential in education, have access to quality health, and can have a secure economic future. It is also dedicated to providing legal, administrative, and educational services to help protect its people's homelands, cultures, and job opportunities. So as the Oneida Indians say, Nakiwa, which means see you later.